Hi everybody, it's Josie here. So in honor of the Queer Lit Readathon that I'm taking part in this month, I thought I would do a series of videos on my personal recommendations for queer literature. So I collect and read a lot of queer literature, both young adult, adult, fantasy, sci-fi, anything I can kind of get my hands on. So I thought I'd do a couple of videos just breaking down different books that I really like, that I would recommend in those kind of different genres. So I'm going to start today with young adult. So I've got a pile of books here that are kind of in the young adult vein that I would recommend and that I've really enjoyed reading. So the first one I've got here is this one over here, The Miseducation of Cameron Post. If you've watched my video, I did a video on this and the film. So Desiree Akhavan adapted this book as a fantastic film. And this, I love this. I actually have a couple of copies of this book, but I love this one because it's the special edition rainbow cover. But this book is about our protagonist, Cameron Post, and she is quote unquote discovered with her best friend. And her aunt then sends her off to gay conversion camp. And the movie focuses more on that part of it. The book gives you a little bit more of the pre-story. Both are fantastic. Both are heartbreaking, interesting. I guess in my mind, gay conversion camp was something that happened back in the past and not anymore, but apparently still very prevalent both in the States and in the UK where I live and all over the world. So it gives you a really interesting insight into prejudice, into religion, and it is just a really beautiful story of Cameron finding herself and finding her own strength as well. Then the next one I've got here is A Blade So Black, and I recently reviewed this one, but I really, really love it, so I wanted to stick it in this video as well. Basically, A Blade So Black is a retelling of the Alice in Wonderland story. Now, the main character isn't queer, but there's a side character queer romance developing that I hope, if and when we get a second book, will get developed more. So it's between two characters in Wonderland and two female characters, and I think it's a really beautiful kind of story, and you've got kind of a warrior woman, which I really like, a really powerful woman in there. So I think that's going to be a lovely side romance in this, hopefully, series. So the next one I've got, talking about warrior women, is this one over here. And again, this is a retelling of the Cinderella story this time, Ash by Melinda Lowe. Melinda Lowe writes lots of great queer YA as well, so this isn't the only one, but this is one that I really love. And in the story, Ash is queer, and instead of falling in love with the prince, she falls in love with Cassia. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but basically she is the head of the hunt for the kingdom, and again she's quite a powerful kind of warrior woman, and it's a really sweet, lovely love story and a really wonderful take on a fairy tale for a queer girl rather than the traditional boy meets girl marries prince. The next one I've got here is Radio Silence, and I know a lot of people really love this book by Alice Oseman, and I really love it as well. What I love about this book is that the central theme of the book is not actually about romance at all. It's about friendship and about family and about what we do to each other and the pressures our family put on us, and you know how friends can help us through that. But both characters, so both our main characters, Aled and Francis, are both queer. So Francis was actually infatuated with Aled's sister, and Aled is in a secret relationship with his best male friend. But the story isn't about that, it's about their friendship, which I really love, and I think this book is incredible. I'd really recommend it to anyone, young adult or not. I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. Then the next one here is a Robin Talley book, and I've read quite a few, and I'm planning to do a bit of a Robin Talley spotlight because Robin Talley writes, that I've read, only queer character-driven books. And this one here is Young Adult, As I Descended. This one is a retelling of the Macbeth story, or kind of inspired by the Macbeth story. And it's basically set in a boarding school in America, and the two lead characters are in a relationship. They're queer girls, and basically they're trying to get rid of their rival. So with the school, you have the hierarchy and who's at the top of it, and it's whether or not you're going to get into an Ivy League school, university after that. And Delilah, I think it's Delilah, yeah, who is their main competition. So we've got Maria and Lily who are in a relationship, and they're kind of trying to best Delilah, let's say. This one is a bit darker than a lot of the other Robin Talley books that I've read, but I really enjoyed it, and I kind of like that sort of modern queer spin on a Shakespeare story, which I thought was quite cool. Then the next one, I've actually got 2 books by the same author, so I'll do them kind of together. So it's these 2 here. So it's Nina LaCour, and it's Hold Still and Everything Leads to You. Now, again, Nina LaCour, there's a few other books by her that are fantastic. These are my 2 favourites that I've read so far. Hold Still is very, very sad. The main character, Caitlin, her best friend, has died. And she feels very alone and very isolated. And again, the lead character in this one isn't queer. The book is not about being queer at all. It just happens to be that one of the side characters, or one of the characters that she meets, Dylan, is in a relationship with another girl, and she's queer, and you get this beautiful kind of relationship between Dylan and Maddie, and how they help our lead character Caitlin through kind of her sorrow and finding herself in a way as well. So again, it's a really beautiful book about friendship, in my opinion. And then we've got this one over here, which is Everything Leads to You. And this one I love because it's just a really sweet romance between 2 girls. So this one is set in California, and our main character, I'm trying to remind myself what her name is, Emmy, she has just started working as a set designer on films. And she meets a girl who is related to a famous movie star. And there's a bit of a kind of a mystery element that runs through it. She's uncovering something about this girl's past and about her family, but also they're falling in love. And it's beautifully set and beautifully described in the Hollywood Hills. It's just a lovely, kind of a feel-good book, whereas Hold Still is quite gut-wrenching and quite sad. This one, I think, is really beautiful and fun, and it's a great book to read on a sunny beach somewhere if you just want a lovely, queer, sweet romance. So I recommend that one. Ooh, I just dropped one. And then the last 3 are actually recent reads, but I need to stick them in here because I love them so much. So the first one is A Brilliant Death. Fantasy YA. This book plays with gender roles, you know, what it means to be male, female. The lead characters, they swap, they're strega, they're magicians, and they can swap between male, female, and actually animal form as well. But it's a beautiful commentary on what does gender actually mean, and gender bias about being a girl, what it means to be a girl. And again, there's a really sweet love story and a kind of a fantasy element to this one. So if you like that, this one is fantastic. Then the next one, this one is more of an urban fantasy because it's set in our time, but has kind of a fantastical, magical overlay. And it's Salk Hill Girls. Again, I did a video. I love, love, love this book. So if you want to know more about it, check out that video. But essentially, you've got the lead character who is queer, and she falls in love with another girl. And it is a beautiful story about love, about friendship, and about strength, and about finding your strength as a woman as well. And I think this is a fantastic, fantastic book for any young adult females in your life. Christmas is coming up. And then another fantastic, fantastic book, and I've literally just read this as part of Queer Lit readathon, and it's Girls of Paper and Fire. I adored this book, and I'm going to do a separate video just talking about it, but I had to sneak it in the end here. This one, again, is about strength. There are some trigger warnings here, so sexual assault, that is a trigger warning, but it talks about power. It talks about how men exert power over women, how different classes exert power over each other. And then also you have this beautiful love story between our main character, well, our main characters really. It's gorgeous. Again, it's fantastical, it's fantasy. Clearly it's the first book in a series because the way it ends, there has to be another book. And I'm dying to see where these characters go and how this love story unfolds. So that's my pick for young adult. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back with another video for adult and a few other picks. Have a good rest of your day. I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye.